That's the recording started for biodiversity recovery at Keep Millen and Beautiful. So I've got my colleague Aoife here with me today as well. She's in biodiversity recovery. And we've also from the grants department, we've got Sandra.
Hi.
Who's looking lovely and very, very stylish, I have to say.
Billy will tell you, I didn't look like that an hour ago.
No, she did. And we've also got Linda, who's coordinator with Live Here, Love Here. So I suppose the session today is very much about us trying to answer or address your questions about pollinator gardens. So it's not necessarily about the ins and outs of the grant or plan for the grant. So you should have a grant officer who could answer those specific questions. But we'd love to hear about how your projects are going, if you're having any trouble sourcing stuff, what your plans are, if you found a good supplier for something or other. So does anybody want to kick us off at all? No, everybody's very shy. Okay, anybody want to share where they are with their project at the minute?
Well, I'll jump in if nobody else is going to.
Yes, please.
I'm Marie O'Kane from St John Bosco Primary School, Ballinese. So we applied for the grant and we're delighted to receive a sum of money, but obviously a lot of it was not allowed. Different things that I had put in for, like fencing and the manual labour and the installation and things. So I don't know how they thought I was going to put up a fence myself, but anyway, we chose then to go for on advice. I'm not even sure who I emailed, to change the fence to a hedge. So it's just sourcing now the hedge, but you still obviously you need to plan to plant a hedge. So it's just how I go about creating this space within our school grounds. So yes, I've got the money, but I actually haven't got the access just to the money just yet.
Okay. Well, look, the really good thing about the season coming up, sort of October, sort of into March, is that it's the dormant season. So it's a really good time to plant bare root things. Okay. So, and bare root hedging plants, now when we say bare root, it means they come with the roots bare, ready to go into the ground, as opposed to in a pot with compost and stuff in it. So two advantages of that is that bare root stuff's normally a good bit cheaper. It's also easier to plant because the hole doesn't have to be as big, because you're not planting a whole sort of container load. And there are different suppliers who will supply like a wildlife mix or a native hedging mix.
Yes.
Which would have I think it was myself, maybe had I emailed you back about
maybe, yes.
But I put in the hedge like the hawthorn and blackthorn and maybe some crabapple and willow.
Because you couldn't go prickly, because obviously with children and things touching. I think the hawthorn maybe wasn't. Was it the hawthorn? What one did you advise me against? There was one you definitely advised me against. I can't remember now.
Holly, maybe.
Holly, maybe holly.
Maybe holly or blackthorn, but hawthorn is a wee bit prickly, but not. Do you know what I mean? It's not so soft. It's soft as well. So, so there are. I think on our suppliers list we have. There's. If you Google bare root thing, so there's a company called Screen It Green, and there's also a company called Three Fat Pigs. That's the name of the website. They're called Beach something or other. Nurseries based in Newton Ards, and there's Future Forests who are based in Cork, who are really good as well. But if there's also like tree nurseries, like Craigmore Trees, for instance, who will do like a bare rooted hedging mix. But
what was the name of the first one you said? Something green?
Screen It Green.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think somebody has shared. Has somebody shared the suppliers list?
Yeah, I've just popped that in there now. I don't know. I'm just having a wee look. I don't know if we have Screen It Green or Three Fat Pigs. So those are two more that we can add and send out.
Okay. But basically, bare root plants should only cost, you're probably doing like between 3 and 6 a metre. They should only cost you about £1, somewhere between £1 and £1.50 each.
Okay.
to put it, and you don't, it's a great thing to do with children as well, because well, you know, you don't need a big mad hole, and you can get a lot done in a short space of time. So
Can I
that's
ask a question, sorry.
yes.
So you're talking about those hedging mixes. If we didn't have that on our plan, is there a way you can contact someone and maybe update your plan that you could add those things in to you?
Yes, I'm sure. Have you a designated grant officer?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, if you contact them and say, look, I want, because you're going to substitute their plants, they're really useful for pollinators. Like a native hedge is one of the most useful things you can do. And even to plant a native hedge up along, say you've got that, you know, that big security green fencing and stuff. If you can plant a native hedge along that, it's like an amazing thing for wildlife and for pollinators. So there would be no issue with that. I think I'm right in saying, Linda.
Yeah, I think there is flexibility. You know, we will try and be as flexible as possible within your grant. Although what I would say is I've just put the email address into the chat there, the School Pollinator Grant at liveherelovehere.org. If there's any changes whatsoever, you know, we will be flexible with them, but please do get in touch with one of the grant officers on that email address, because everything needs to be documented for your site visit, you know, at the end. So there shouldn't be any problem, but please just get in touch. The email address is the easiest way. There are sort of certain phone numbers and stuff, but that's the quickest and easiest way to contact us. So yeah, if you just wouldn't mind doing this, and then if there's any other advice or anything we can give, no problem at all.
And as well,
It's Claire, isn't it? Sorry, is it Claire? I think I'm your grants officer, Claire. Maybe I think we had spoken.
Catherine. Oh, Catherine, yes.
Catherine, sorry, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we had been
all my
contact.
questions.
Yeah.
And
So
it
just keep sending me them.
Yeah, I was just double check as well. I just heard you talking about suppliers lists. I didn't know there was a suppliers list. I've got like a quote off another company. Does that matter? You know, like a local.
No, not at all. The suppliers list was indicative as opposed to prescriptive. So
Perfect.
you know, if somebody local to you that you know and trust, you get a quote off them. That's absolutely fine. It's just some people have, you know, they really have no idea where to go for stuff sometimes, so that's why they set that up.
I think it's more from the grants point of view, you know, if it's the best value for money, really, and it's, you know, we want you to be able to get the most out of your funding. So yeah, it's just really sort of a guide.
Thank you.
And just speaking of guides to, you know, general things, like we have that suppliers list, and we also have some information packs. I'm putting a bunch of links in here, but we also have these collated in a wee document that we can send to you, some specifically about hedging, but the All Ireland Pollinator Plan is an amazing resource for like basically absolutely everything. They have a wee guide to hedgerows and kind of how they benefit pollinators. So if you're thinking about doing signage or, you know, workshops with the kids as they're out planting, or maybe doing some monitoring later in the year after you have planted, they have loads of nice information there. And, you know, about habitat connectivity, which is one of the great things about planting a hedge. You're creating a really amazing wildlife corridor. So I know some of you will be thinking, okay, we're trying to, you know, put for yourself. Sorry, what was it? Was it Moira or
Marie?
Sorry, Marie.
Yeah.
Head like a sieve. So for yourself, Marie, you're maybe thinking more of like, you know, that was gonna be a fence. You're thinking about putting your hedgerow in for maybe a boundary instead. But if you're just putting in a hedge and you don't need it to be acting as like a boundary or like a fence, maybe think about, can I connect this habitat to this habitat? You know, if you have 2 green bits already and then maybe a gap in between, a hedgerow is an amazing way to kind of connect those. And I've put some wee guides into, you know, planting them and stuff. You normally want staggered rows, so you normally want 2 rows and they'd be kind of staggered in like a kind of like a V shape when you're planting.
Okay.
So about 50 centimeters to a meter apart. And yeah, there's loads of different options for, like, I know there were some people that I chatted to that really wanted some noise screening. So they were beside like quite a busy road, and that might apply for some rural schools as well. So they wanted to put up like kind of like laurel and stuff like that, because it was evergreen and it would, you know, absorb the noise. But that's a non-native species. It's actually adding very little in terms of biodiversity to your garden. So thinking about like native evergreen species, if you want something evergreen, like holly is maybe a no-go for people if you're concerned about prickles. But even juniper, Scots pine, all pretty soft, all native, and they'll have a lot of benefit. Not only to pollinators but other wildlife and stuff. So yeah.
Just to say as well that all the links in the comments, we will put these together and email you.
Oh, brilliant.
Also thinking about if anybody is, you know, thinking about or intends to put in hedges and stuff, it does no harm to put an odd wee fruit tree through your hedge. I mean, I'm you know, mad about the whole edible thing, but do you know what, you can put sort of a semi-dwarfing apple tree or some dancing plums or something like that. So, you know, there's no reason why you can't eat from your hedge as well. And children love that. I do, you know, again, we're starting a series of workshops, sort of started this week, you know, where we put like 6 fruit trees, mini orchards, and fruit bushes into a series of primary schools, and we're going out and, you know, we're making fruit sundaes and squeezing apples to make juice and stuff, and it's just all great for connecting the whole school up with, you know, whatever you have in your grounds as well. Anybody intending to do anything else or put in any perennial planting anywhere around your school grounds? By perennial, I just mean permanent, you know, like shrubs and you know, plants or herbs or plants that are there all the time. Basically, they might die back in the winter time, but come springtime they'll come up again.
Yeah, that's what we are going to be doing.
Catherine, oh, that's great. Okay, and you're happy enough with the varieties and stuff that you picked or
lots of lavenders, lots of cornflower, lots of nasturtiums, like lots of the, I'm looking here, wildflower, all of that. But I'm doing it in conjunction with the primary school as well. We are a school in Belfast and we have very little green space. So this is me trying to, you know, get that up and going. And obviously I'm learning along the way too, just of the different things that are mostly beneficial. But I'm really excited. But we have no grassy area, which is something I'm really conscious of. You're talking about the hedges and things. I would love to do that. Maybe eventually we'll be able to look at that. But the EA were out and they were talking about at the opposite corner of our playground, turning it into a green space, which would be amazing for us eventually, hopefully down the line. But we are kind of working out of planters, tires, and other new planters and different things that I'll be ordering. But that's basically where we are. But yeah, a lot of tarmac and things, which is not great, but this is us starting.
But as you say, Catherine, you can, you know, it's great to green a space like that. Yeah. And you know, you can plant and anything that'll hold soil, really, you know.
Yeah. I've got a couple of wee plants or trees and things like that to kind of like wee forest flames and different things like that I'm looking at here to kind of.
Can I ask a question? It's probably related to Catherine. I'm coming in from the AOTIS provisions, and we have struggled a wee bit because I asked about the copy of the suppliers list because we were told we can't go through any suppliers unless they're EA approved, and it's really delayed a lot of our plans, really, you know. And I just wanted to check the suppliers list. Is that through yourselves, through Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful? And if that's acceptable, we're more than happy to use that. But we just find that it's quite difficult, and a bit like Catherine said, we actually had the EA grant maintenance people out, and we had our whole plan to look at developing the front, to make it, talking about perennials and really bring a lot of beauty to the front space, and screening and looking at a small orchard and looking at a wildflower meadow. And the area that we wanted to kind of have this wildflower meadow was as you drive in, And we were told, well, actually, no, maybe not, because, you know, it's lovely when it's in flower, but when it's not in flower, maybe you should put it to the other side. And I'm sort of like, well, look, the other side isn't really going to be seen so much. So we are having a few challenges just around that. And even, you know, in terms of planting, oh, well, you know, how's it going to be cut around? And it's just been a bit difficult. It hasn't been as straightforward as we would have hoped it to be.
Yes, mate. I suppose, I mean, when you're talking about suppliers, I suppose we're talking about, you know, people who can supply either the plants or infrastructure or planters or topsoil or compost or bark and stuff like that. Education Authority, if they're your maintenance people moving forward, I think it depends where you are and
it does,
how obstructive or do you know what I mean, or otherwise.
Yeah, I know. I
think
think
they don't always embrace change in that they just want to come out and cut grass and spray, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and the difficulty I've had is, like, I've been in contact with procurement, and I've got, you know, who's contracted to do shrubs and trees and stuff. And the difficulty is they maybe have one set up in the Ballymena and Carrick and Lauren area. They don't have someone similar in the Western area that's under contract. So, you know, if that supplier list that you're referring to is something that we can use, and it's completely we're more than happy to use it. You know,
if you're spending grant money, you can use whatever supplier you want. That offers value, and that's the point of it. I mean, the thing about going through EA approved suppliers, I'm not familiar with who they might be, but that, you know, sometimes that's not the best value for. Completely. So shop around
and range as well.
Absolutely, because the point of the grant is it's not EA money, it's your money. It's money we've given you to do with
to develop. Yeah, no, thank you for that. No, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I ask a wee question just about the grant money? My vice principal has handed me this to take over, and when I'm looking through the acceptance letter, it says that we have been rejected for labour. So we were getting polytunnels and wood chip and things like that put down. Does that mean we can't have anybody to come in and help with any kind of services? Are we expected then just to do that ourselves? Because I can't put a polytunnel up. It's really concerning me.
There is a certain amount of money that is available for labour, but it's only a percentage of the grant.
Yes. It said 30% on the bit that I had read, but in our actual official letter, it says rejected for labour. So are we still allowed to use 30%, or is it just no labour?
Okay, so if you want to get in touch with your grants, with the grants team, because obviously with every specific grant, you know, we've gone through them all specifically and removed things that maybe aren't eligible or the percentage or whatever. So if you can get in touch on the School Pollinator Grant email and get in touch with somebody, we can have a chat with you specifically about your school.
Okay.
But at the same time, you know, it is really good to try and involve other people. You know, I understand that some things will need like a proper qualified labourer or a person to install things, but you know, if you can get parents involved, get your local men shed involved, get your local community garden, community groups, any businesses, you know, the point of the grant as well is to get as many people involved, I suppose, as possible, and kind of reach out to those community networks. So I know there's a lot of schools that maybe have had a local men's shed come in and help, or maybe grandparents or parents, or so, you know, I'm not saying that that's appropriate for all of your grant, but it's certainly an avenue to explore. But if you do get in touch with us, your grant officer will be able to go through the nuances of your specific letter of offer.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We have had a mad September, October. I've been spending evenings and weekends trying to get, because I know you're saying about labour, and we've had parents in and doing gardening and whatever, but we're trying to get prepared to get the seeds in for a wildflower area before the autumn came in, and gardeners coming back to us with different quotes and then pulling out, not being able to do it. And at the moment, I'm really aware that we're in the beginning of October, and I'm like, I have one contractor who can do it. Their quote is over £500, and you have to have more than 2 quotes if it's over £500. I can't seem to get a second quote. I think his quote is too high, but I'm also aware that nature, you know, the seasons are changing, and I'm actually terrified to put wildflower seeds into the ground now because I'm slightly scared that they're going to die. What is the advice? Do I have to have done everything by February, or can we have the ground prepped, have the wildflower seeds there to go, and put them in March when they might have a better chance of actually successfully germinating? What is the advice?
Well, if I can answer that, Ruth, Sandra and I had this conversation just earlier today, actually, that if you have the work done and the ground prepped and the seed bought, again, Linda, you would keep me right about this, but you know, is it okay to not put the seed in until March, which is when you'd want to, do you know?
Yeah, I think as long as you have the grant spent on the appropriate items that it was offered for, that's fine. You know, like as I say, we'd be as flexible as possible, and as long as you have the seed bought, you have, you know, the plan in place to plant it. You know, obviously we're not going to say yes, stick it in the ground for it all to die. So no, absolutely. But yes, and on the two quotes for over the 500 dish, you do need to get two quotes over 500. But you know, even if it's just a matter of phoning somebody in the country, getting, you know, your quotes, like we have to deliver to our deliverables to DAERA as well. So it's a lot of sort of red tape, ticking boxes. So we all just have to kind of stick by those parameters a little bit. But to say we will be as flexible as possible, yeah. And as long as you can get the funding, you know, spent by the time the funding, you know, runs out, your deadline, then it should be grand.
Yeah,
that's really helpful. Thank you.
And as you say, Ruth, you probably have more choice then coming up, you know, and probably get a better price for, you know, for doing the work as well.
Yeah, it feels less like I was feeling the pressure of the season. That actually really helps. Thank you.
At the end of the day, you know, it is sort of, you are constrained, I suppose, by the grant funding and the letter of offer and, you know, the red tape. But at the end of the day, we want you to have a magnificent garden. We want you to have a great, you know, space that you can maintain and you can build on for the next couple of years. So, you know, obviously we are very, you know, we're on your side. We want you to have the best garden possible. So whatever way we can help, you know, absolutely.
And can I add, Ruth, sorry, could I just add, Ruth, again, if you link into your, just keep your grants officer advised that, you know, things like that, not going to be able to plant till March, you know, that's the sort of thing if we know up front.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Can I ask as well, sorry, whenever I was chatting to the caretaker of our school, he's really helpful, he's brilliant at helping us, but he was just giving me ideas basically. So he was saying that he thinks that we should get a skip. Is there any way and skip some of the things that we have that are in the way or not great, like getting rid of old soil that has no nutrients left in it, etc. Would that be, could I get in contact with Sandra and say, look, can I hire a skip to help us do this, or is that not?
I think you would have to sort of repurpose some of your funding for that. And I don't know if that would be, again, you know, it's hard to say, to speculate on specific, you know, letters of offer. It would be something you could certainly have discussion about, but I think we would be maybe reluctant to sort of something like that. But again, it's, you know, it's worth speaking about. We would need to sort of look at your whole project to see if it fits in, and you would probably have to take money from something else to put it towards that. But Sandra,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would be saying to you, Catherine. You know, I don't know off the top of my head, you know, what your ceiling was for your grant.
I think I am not going to be, you know, I feel like the prices I'm getting at the minute, now I would need to double check, obviously, but I think that I could fit in a skip without having to take something away, but I don't.
Yeah, but as Linda says, it really depends on the composition of your grant.
Yeah.
You know how much we've already given for different aspects, you know, for hard works, labour, that sort of thing, you know, because there's only a certain percentage of the overall grant we can agree to. But again, something you and I can discuss.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Bye.
Just on the wildflower meadow creation, I think we've maybe lost Ruth, but I've just put in a great guide that the All Ireland Pollen. Oh, Ruth, is that you back
I'm
there?
back. Sorry, I'm listening. I was just
No
yeah.
worries at all. I've just put into the chat a wee guide from the All Ireland Pollinator Plan on how to create a wildflower meadow, and they have it's a really succinct, really well explained guide. It's got kind of like everything that you need from picking your seed to ground preparation to sowing and then the management and stuff afterwards. If you can get stuff done, like your window for sowing, if you were going to sow it now, like let's say like happy days, everything does just click into place, you're really up until the end of October that's kind of your cutoff date for sowing this side of the year. You can either sow like kind of like September, October, or into the spring. So kind of early,
we
like
were thinking
between March and early June.
If we were going to sow, because of the timeline of it all, it was going to be the last week. It was going to be the week starting the 20, the last week before half term. So it's the very last week of October. And I was just worried if it was particularly too cold then, if that was too late. But you don't think that's too late?
It's just before it's too late, you know. I've actually just sown my own wee mini wildflower meadow out the front, and I did that about a fortnight ago now. So I'm if you sow it in kind of September, October, you're expecting things to start popping up in the spring. So for some seeds it actually is great. They being overwintered is actually really good for the seed. But if it's pressure, it would maybe be easier just, you know, and things will come up in the summer if you sow them in the spring. So it's not really much difference in terms of, you know, you will get to see the wildflowers starting to spring up during the school term. So it's just to let you know that if that does happen and you do want to sow at the end of October, you do have that option, but I wouldn't leave it really any later than that.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I also add that if you are buying wildflower seed to make sure it's native Irish, and we do have a number, I think it's like 4 suppliers who will supply that kind of seed, rather than, you know, what we don't want is somebody just buying random stuff off the internet, because, you know, at best it'll not be native Irish varieties, and at worst it might have something invasive in it, you know, like there's some mixes with blackgrass and stuff. So, you know, please, and that's the thing about wildflower seed, if it looks too cheap or it looks too good to be true, it normally is, you know. So the proper wildflower seed does cost a wee bit more. Actually, I have somebody who helps me here at the house, and she's been sowing yellow rattle seed today, just where we're trying to get rid of the grass now. We've planted loads and loads of trees, and so we've cut and removed that grass, and we're just raking off or healing in wee pockets of yellow rattle. So and that'll help to kill that grass and let other species come up. So but yes, I would. And yellow rattle is a different thing, because, you know, you could probably sow that right up until I think December. But I think now, if rather than put yourself under pressure, definitely waiting in the spring would be better. Anybody else? Any questions? Anybody going to plant any trees at all? We patch native trees or anything?
We're planning just to plant a few fruit trees. We have a wildlife area at the back, but it needs upgraded. So we're going to sort of upgrade the path to make it more accessible for the children. And then raised beds sort of ideas, and some planters around the school, and our local flower centre in the town beside me. I'm hoping they're going to keep me right.
Right, okay. Well, Charlene, as I say, if we send out, I think we have some of the information we can send out to you that we put together from other workshops, have lists of, you know, plants that are really good, sort of annuals and perennials and trees and stuff for pollinators. So I mean, it's no harm even for you to bring that to them and say, this is the kind of stuff I want, you know.
Yeah. We're planning on visiting the local garden centre close to Kinnigo, and sorry, my camera's off. And certainly we had spoken about doing some tree planting and also having some fruit bushes and fruit trees,
Yeah.
some apple trees and so forth, where it's again, in terms of the locality, it's in County Armagh, so it was taken in the whole apple country and so forth. So
Brilliant.
yeah, so any guidance, sometimes the information is so helpful, but it's just trying to pick out what's most relevant, if that makes sense, because there's a lot of data really. But certainly, Julie, if there's anything particularly advice, it'd be great.
Look, in terms of fruit, like apples, plums, and pears are really good to grow here. And most garden centres will offer you semi-dwarf and rootstock. So you're not going to get a big massive tree. It's most stuff sold in terms of fruit trees now in garden centres are designed for smaller gardens,
Yeah.
So they should keep you right. Plus different types of pollinating groups. So you can get early, mid-season and late apples, and they all blossom kind of early, mid-season or late. So if you can get ones that complement each other in terms of when the blossom is out, so the cross-pollinate, so you get bigger crops, your garden centre would keep you absolutely right there too.
Brilliant.
And things that grow brilliantly in this country are things like blackcurrants, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, gooseberries, but again they're pretty spiky, so maybe stay clear of those. But yeah, all sorts of fruit grows brilliantly.
Grows well. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And just to say, with your local garden centres, we've found they have been really great sources of not just like the actual plants themselves, but also support for people and for schools in particular. And a lot of them are very keen, to do kind of little deals where they'll maybe give you some stuff for free and maybe do some promotion or whatever. But one thing I would say about relying very heavily on your local garden centre is that garden centres in this country have been very much geared towards ornamentals, and they are not always great for pollinators. A lot of the time, they look really nice to us, but there's nothing in there for bees or butterflies or anything like that, or even any other local wildlife. So if you can, the rule of thumb that's easiest to follow is buying and planting native stuff, because you can't really go wrong with that. It's going to be a benefit to some creature or other. And the likes of your fruit and apple trees and all, they're all really good. So any of that, I would recommend get that from your local garden centre and support them. But for other things, if they're recommending shrubs, just keep that in your mind that they might want to recommend you this because they think it's really gorgeous, but they've maybe not been trained to think about the kind of the environment and biodiversity in the same way. But there's a great couple of documents that we will send you out. One is, I know I've been banging on about the All Ireland Pollinator Plan, but it really is such a wealth of knowledge. So they have a planting code, and the Royal Horticultural Society, RHS, also have planting for pollinators. So we will send out those two documents to you, and I'll put them in the chat now. And if you're at your local garden centre, just do a quick cross-reference. The people at the garden centre will be able to give you the species name. Just hit, Control F, find in page, and just search those wee documents to see, oh, is that in there? Do these people actually recommend it for pollinators? And that will keep you right,
Thank you.
No worries. Hopefully that makes sense.
It does.
And actually, if in doubt, if really in doubt and you haven't got the list, go to Google. Is, and the name of the thing, good for pollinators?
Yeah.
Bracket, comma UK or a comma Ireland, and that'll should tell you too. But sorry, I was going to say, vegetation and wee messy areas or wee patches of nettles are really important for pollinators as well, because that's what a lot of caterpillars eat, for instance, and they need to nest and they need to overwinter and they need wee hidey spaces too. So it's always really good to bear that in mind too. Don't let the EA come in and strim and spray to the...
Oh, I know. Oh. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of our teachers have been told that they're recommended on like some outdoor play and forest sort of school courses to have willow in the school that children can kind of bend and make things with. Is willow good for pollinators or not really?
Yes,
It's
really,
great.
really, really good.
Mhm.
Because it's one of the earliest sources of pollen for pollinating insects that there are. So yeah, willow was really, really good.
Hey, it's
Do-
Catherine here.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, just in relation to the willow, I had put a willow tunnel on our initial request, which was granted fine, and we then had gone and got a pricing scenario from Loughney Discovery Centre staff who had come and checked on site, and they were recommending a tunnel area to partly disguise an ugly bit of our grounds, and then also a dome for the older children on another part of the grounds. Which all made like good sense, but obviously it was coming out over the 500 that I was allocated for the grant. So I was wanting to check, like on that basis, I needed a second quote for a willow provision, and I can't source. I emailed someone around the Ards Peninsula, but they haven't got back to me at all. So does anyone know any other willow providers who could give us a quote to do a similar job?
What did you call them again, Catherine? The ones you actually did get a quote off?
The ones we got, it's Oxford Island, the Loughney Discovery Centre.
Yeah.
The staff there had done one many moons ago for us, so they have given us a new quote for new provision. But
Okay.
the other contact I'd found around the Ards Peninsula somewhere haven't got back to me, and I don't know where else to find someone else.
Okay. What about conservation volunteers?
Nobody knows of anybody.
No.
I think, conservation volunteers might be a shout. Off the top of my head, I don't know anyone else. Just Googling it.
I did ask.
Sorry,
I did ask my grant officer just if in the absence of being able to get a second quote, like, can you go ahead basically, or and justify it in some way,
Yeah. Just having a wee quick look online here. There is a place in the Republic, Living Willow Ireland. I don't know if you've seen them.
Okay.
So I would try them and conservation volunteers. I'm pretty sure conservation volunteers have put in willow tunnels for people before.
Where are they based, or is that?
They're based in Belfast. They're on the Ravenhill Road.
Right. Okay.
But they do have bases in Derry and
no, Belfast would be closest for us. That's fine.
That's
okay. Okay, I'll have a look. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Catherine, if the worst comes to the worst and you definitely can't get a second quotation, flag that up so that the grants the grants team has a record of that.
Yeah, the grant officer had just said as long as we keep corresponding with changes or whatever, that's fine. So okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, I just put in the a couple of us put in the TCV Northern Ireland page there, that would have their details on it if you want to get in touch.
Who was that? Sorry, I'm on my phone. I'm just
tcv.org.
tcv.org. Okay.
.uk/Northern Ireland. That'll give
okay.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at that. That's great. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else? Anybody intending to sow any bulbs at all? Because from now, sort of, is a good time to get your
we were hoping to.
Yeah, on the bulb front, obviously we were kind of limited by the pollinator scenario again of just what choices. So, actually, I was able to pick up like 100 bulb selections that Little's had them in last week specifically for pollinators. So we've got some of those gathered, but it's very limited to muscari and allium and
crocuses are really
and crocus. Yeah, that was it. That was the three really that were in the mix, and I think there's an anemone in the mix as well.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's the plan.
Actually, it just by the side, we put in a load of bulbs at the home here, and then I was away on annual leave, and I came back, and the badgers have.
Oh,
No.
you can't win.
You can't win when you do. Everything has to live and eat.
Okay.
Anybody else? No other questions at all?
Maybe it's on your suppliers.
Sorry, Shirley?
I was just going to ask.
Sorry, go ahead, you first.
Sorry, I was just going to ask. I've been finding it hard, and maybe it is on the suppliers list. I hadn't seen that before about finding another polytunnel. I've been in touch with Polytunnels NI, but
Right.
there was other place in the south that just didn't reply to my emails.
Right.
We got our polytunnel quote from Morris Polytunnels. Who
Mars.
weren't on Morris Polytunnels. They weren't on the supplier list. They're from OMA direction, but
Yeah.
they were the best quote, and they provided the raised bed scenario and everything inside the polytunnel for cheaper than what Polytunnels NI could do.
They are now on the list.
Good to
We've
know.
had ours installed from Morris Polytunnels. They just have a bit of a backlog.
Yes, 10 weeks is the lead time.
They didn't come to September, so it's just in. But they did everything, labor, everything is included in the price.
Yeah, they've told us 10 weeks is the lead time, so we promised it would be in January for us. So hopefully that works out.
Thank you. Just keep messaging them.
Yeah.
They are now on the EA list, and we got polytunnels put up by them, and they were good. You know, as you say, there is a lapse and there is a delay, but you know, the installation is all part of the cost. So
yes,
that's helpful, you know, in terms of your submission.
Yeah, perfect.
Can I ask a question about the processing of the payment? You know, when the expenditure's going through, how do we record that with yourselves?
Sorry, hold on. You have you uploaded any of your invoices or anything as yet?
It's with the admin officer at the moment, so I'm not sure whether she has as yet. Possibly not.
Okay. In the original guidance that you got with the letter of offer, it tells you how to upload your quotations, your invoices, and your evidence of payment, etc. Some people find it easier to go to do that as they go along. It's up to you really how you manage that. But to get the first 50%, and most people have drawn that down now, we need a pre-project form filled in plus the back's details. And then we can release 50%, But to get the next 30%, if you have a cash flow issue, we need to see how the first 50% was spent. And that would involve you uploading, as I say, the invoices, the quotes, the invoices, and the evidence of payment. And we don't accept check stubs or whatever. So unless it's paid, say, by school card, we'd be looking probably to see the invoice. On the
don't worry, it will be proper. I appreciate that. That's fine.
There is actually
to do a webinar on that.
Yeah, there is actually a walkthrough video on the YouTube channel. So I'll put a link in here into the
thank
chat.
you very much.
And that kind of just is a visual kind of guide of how to walk through how to do that. But again, as Sandra says, I think sort of as we go on, Orla, who's a senior grants officer, might do an actual webinar on that just to kind of walk you through it so that everybody has a good idea. But I'll put this wee link into the chat, see if it helps.
That's lovely, thank you. And sorry, can I ask, Sandra, are you the grants officer for everyone, or are there different localities?
You're on mute, Sandra.
There are two grants officers looking after different council areas. So depending, where are you, Maeve?
Well, we have three of our IOTAS programs. One is Groomsport, one is Dungannon, and the other is Oma.
I would probably be your Groomsport, and your Dungannon falls into Mid-Ulster, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or from
Kind of go, actually, it's kind of Armagh direction, so Moy That makes sense.
Yeah, all my, yeah, I would be for those, and then Gemma would be covering the OMA one.
OMA. Oh, thank
So
you.
we do have a grants team. Orla McGrady is the senior grants officer, and Sandra and Gemma are working on the School Pollinator grants. But for any inquiries, it's generally better to contact the School Pollinator grant email address, because
that was my next question. So just go to the general email. Okay.
Just that, yep. I think I put it in the chat there near the top, but I can post it again. But all the grant officers for the School Pollinator grant have access to that email, so that's the fastest.
No,
way
that's perfect. And then I suppose it keeps everybody in the loop.
It does, yeah. They check that every day, and that's the quickest way, because we do get inquiries coming through from. Sorry, my dog's going to start barking now.
Don't worry at all.
But it's for the School Pollinator. If you stick with that email address, it's the easiest and quickest way.
No problem. Thank you very much. That's helpful to know.
When you have the first 50% spent, how do you get in contact with yourselves then to get the next 30%?
You're on mute. Thanks, Sandra.
Sorry,
I think it should be all on your. If you go through your letter of offer and your
have to go back
the guidance notes, yeah,
It'll
everything should really be on there, because
yeah.
you know we've done these grants before, and those are the most general questions. So if you have a wee look on your guidance notes and your letter of offer, and say I'm just finding this chat, this walkthrough video to post as well to make it as easy as possible.
Can I ask if the Pollinator Garden Grant Scheme is likely to be available next year, or is that uncertain at this stage?
The easy answer is we're not sure.
We're not sure. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, the funding for the School Pollinator Grant came from DARA. You know, we don't expect to have a specific School Pollinator Grant, because obviously we've just run this one, which was sort of 2.4 million. So, you know, but there will, you know, we are expecting there will be some sort of Pollinator Grant, whether it's, you know, rural, whether it's, you know,
yeah,
Pollinator grant,
it's just to be honest, we're kind of new to the garden grant scheme, so I guess really, has it been running for a number of years, or is it quite?
Well, the School Pollinator Grant, that was the first year of it, this year or last year. Before that, there was the Rural Community Pollinator Grant. So we are kind of running with pollinator grants, but there will be. We're hoping for more funding. But as I say, it's dependent on DARA. And there will be stipulations about reapplying, obviously.
No, to be honest, we have quite a number of programs with young people, and it would be wonderful if some of those centres that are so disadvantaged could avail next year.
Yeah, and
there,
there was
that will go out in press, I'm sure, will it? Yeah,
there was a great uptake, as I say. You know, there was 301 schools, I think, that benefited from the School Pollinator Grant, so it was really, really successful, and hopefully, you know, we'll see that for years to come with this funding. But yeah, if you keep an eye on our social media, on our website, if you sign up for the newsletter, you know, as soon as we have any word of any funding opportunities coming up, we will put it out there. We want you all to know about it and spread the word. So yeah, just keep away out in the socials and whatever.
Lovely, thank you.
So anybody else for any more?
Can I just ask something, please?
Yes, Niamh.
If you have your two quotes and you see which one's the cheapest and you're going to get the best value off, do you have to go back to your grants officer and get the okay, or can you just go ahead yourself and make the right decision? Should it be for a potty tongue or whatever?
No, as long as you have the two quotes and you're going with the one that gives you the best value, you can go ahead with them. It would only be if you were actually going with the more expensive one. You would need to have a good reason as to why.
Right, that's okay. No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
I've got a rowdy Jack Russell puppy and causing bother.
I'm sure you saw me distracted earlier. I have a Labrador and it was on the bed and I tried to get down.
Oh no, they'd let you down the bucket full, wouldn't they?
We can time it the best, can't we?
Yeah, so is everybody happy? I think it's really good to have these chats because a lot of people have the same issues, don't they? You know, but and it's nice to know there are other people in the same,
definitely,
you know, in the same boat. And I think we're hoping to do some like on-site workshops in different areas, aren't we, Linda? Moving forward.
Yeah, we're hoping to do some sort of regional workshops. We can do some more of these if there's a need for them. You know, we kind of like to think that these grants are sort of a wraparound. We're not just giving you funding and kind of saying get on with it. You know, this is why we're trying to provide as many different links and as much information. Gillian and Aoife, obviously, as you can see, are a wealth of information on the biodiversity recovery team. But if there's anything else that we can help you with, or you know, what would be useful, obviously we can't get out to everybody to look at your specific projects, but you know, if you feel that regional workshops maybe would be good, if we can get a group of you together in certain areas, or if you want to do another one of these webinar type meetings, if you've other questions coming up in a month or two, you know, just let us know. So you know, we're open to being happy to help you in whatever way that you need and support you.
Absolutely. Well, will we wrap up then if everybody is everybody's happy enough?
And sorry, I was just going to say all those links and all the information there will be sent out to you. We'll organise that so you can have all those. Don't worry about screenshotting or trying to write them down or whatever.
Brilliant, brilliant. And then any queries that we have, we just go to the central website, yeah, or the email address. That's perfect.
Yeah, if you go to the School Pollinator, I'd say, you know, all the grants officers have individual grants emails, but if you go to the School Pollinator Grant liveyourloveher.org, everybody can see that one. So that's the more direct one. And you know, maybe Sandra and Orla and Gemma will all be talking to each other, you know, so that's just the most direct one to get a email back ASAP.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your time. I can't wait to see photographs, or I can't wait to see some of the projects in development or finished or whatever. It's exciting. I know it's a bit of hard work at the minute, but it'll be worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is, and thank you all so much for giving up your precious time to come and have a chat with us, and hopefully your projects are well underway. But as I said, if there's anything else we can do or support you in any way, just please do let us know.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. That was
Thanks so much for joining, guys.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.